The next item of business is consideration of business motion 20965 in the name of Graham Day on behalf of the Parliamentary Bureau on changes to business, and I call on the Minister to move the motion.
Move, Presiding Officer.
Thank you, and I call on Edward Mountain.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. I don't want to speak against this motion, but I want to speak about the fact it has caused some confusion and some amount of issues regarding the Net Zero Energy and Transport Committee. Presiding Officer, the political parties in the Chamber learned at 11:47 on Friday that there was going to be a statement on Ferguson and Marine Port Glasgow taken in the Chamber today. And I know that for a fact because at that stage I asked to speak when that ministerial statement was being made. However, it wasn't until Monday at 13:43 hours that Ferguson Marine Port Glasgow actually told the committee that they were unable to attend a committee meeting scheduled for this morning. That's less than 24 hours' notice. Presiding Officer, I don't need to point out to you and the rest of the Chamber the pressure that I believe the Net Zero Energy and Transport Committee is under at the moment, along with a lot of other committees in the Chamber. It was only last week that we had to take 3 committee meetings to get our climate change report published in time to meet the government's last-minute deadlines. We are still taking evidence, and we will be meeting on the 24th of March, the last day that we can in this Parliament, to sign off various items that still need to be done. These include various SIs that are being laid before the committee and a request by the Cabinet Secretary for Transport to consider an LCM on British Railways, matters that require a considerable amount of work and investigation. Therefore, it is deeply unhelpful to be told less than 24 hours before a committee is to take place that Ferguson Marine cannot turn up because Transport Scotland and have told them that it's inappropriate for them to do so. It left no time for the committee to reschedule some of the many items of business that we could have done, and we were left meeting at 8:15 this morning with a significant gap within our work programme. So, Presiding Officer, my question really is a simple one, is twofold. First of all, do you think it's acceptable, or does this Parliament think it's acceptable for Ferguson Marine to have told the committee just barely less than 24 hours before they were attending a committee that they would be unable to do so, when they must have known, like the rest of this Parliament, this statement was going to take place? And my second question is, would the Minister for Parliamentary Business find out when Ferguson Marine find out about this statement and perhaps tell them that to give due respect to committees and the workload of the committees in this Parliament, when there is a considerable amount of work to be done before the end of this Parliament, that the notice period they gave is totally unacceptable? Presiding Officer.
Thank you, and I call on the Minister to respond on behalf of the Parliamentary Bureau.
Thanks, Presiding Officer. I can understand Mr Mountain's frustration on behalf of his committee if witnesses call off at short notice when the Net Zero Committee, as we've just heard, and as we're all aware, has such a packed agenda over the remaining weeks. I hope he will appreciate that for my part I sought to give this Parliament, through the Bureau, as much notice as possible of the Government's intention to bring forward not just one but 2 statements, and that's as much as I can control. I can't comment on the actions of Ferguson Marine, but in a general sense I would expect everyone, I'll just come to the member in a minute, I would expect people to give due consideration to the demands on committees, although I'm not cited in all of the detail in that. But hopefully when Ferguson Marine do come before the committee, because I believe that's being rescheduled, it will turn out to be a productive session for the member and his colleagues. I give way to Martin Whitfield.
Martin Whitfield.
I'm very grateful for the Minister to give way on this point. The challenge is that there has been an incredible level of discourtesy shown towards the committee by others outside of this place. And indeed, given that the next session and the discussions that we've had about the challenges sometimes of getting witnesses to this place, does the Minister envisage that perhaps the environment will change within this chamber and the requirement to attend committees may be much higher going forward than they've been in the past, where we have accepted and the committees have accepted in the past where people have been unable to attend? But this level of discourtesy from this important a witness does raise the question of how we can ensure attendance at our committees.
Minister.
President Officer, briefly, that will be a matter for the next Parliament and its committees. It's not for the Government to have a view on that. But I do recognise the frustration that Mr Mountain has articulated. And as a former committee convener myself, I understand the challenges that are faced, particularly at this late stage in a parliamentary session. But as I say, when Ferguson and Marine do come before his committee, I would hope it will be a productive session.
Thank you. The question is that motion 20965, in the name of Graham Day, on behalf of the Parliamentary Bureau on changes to business, be agreed. Are we all agreed? Yes. The motion is therefore agreed.